Welcome to the first thrift haul video of 2025. I'm excited to show you guys some stuff that I have been outsourcing lately for my business, Lost and Found. We're gonna dive right into these awesome finds. So I do have a booth space again, and I'm super excited that I can be back out shopping for that space. I've been hitting some estate sales recently, doing some online auctions, going to other flea markets, headed to the thrift store. These things just kind of come from a variety of places that I've been out and about. First two are these fantastic wooden shoe lasts. I used to see these kind of all the time, and I don't see them as much anymore. And I really like this one because it's a child-sized shoe. So you can see the difference between the two if I hold them up. The child-sized ones especially, I don't find very often. I bought these at a flea market where I think the vendor was maybe going out of business, and they were marked $1 a piece, which was just a steal. They're adorable on a stack of books in a vignette. They just add a lot of warmth and patina and character because of that old wood. At that same vendor, they had this great shoe polish brush. Brushes always sell well. Old brushes like this with the wooden handles. I've got a couple of them in my booth space right now. So at another estate sale, I popped in, and kind of back in their garage, they had this huge pile of sheet music. And so I was digging through the whole pile. And honestly, I probably should have just made him an offer for the whole pile. I mean, nothing in this garage was priced. It was just stuff everywhere. I found the best ones, and I think I paid, I don't know, maybe $1 for the stack. But all of these have just some really pretty patina on them. This first one is a book of Beethoven, and this one is a Rachmaninoff. Got another Beethoven, and then a Weber. Well, no, there's one more. This one, Classics for Violin. Isn't that one pretty? These old sheet music books, I'm not exactly sure what I'm gonna do with them yet. There was a time in my business where I would take sheet music when I would find a whole stack of it and kind of bundle them up in bundles of 5 or 6, tie them up in a ribbon and sell them that way. These are still intact. I don't really want to take them apart. I don't do a lot of paper crafting, but there's a lot of people that do. And so nice vintage sheet music is always great for the junk journals and the paper crafting, or to put it behind, you know, a pretty old vintage postcard and a picture frame. Something else I want to do this year is I really want to start trying to list some books on eBay. I have sold some things on eBay in the past, just like some personal things that I had myself, not at all for a business. And this year I want to give it a go. I was having a conversation with a guy actually in a line at an estate sale, and he was telling me how he sells old old VHS tapes on eBay. And he has sold some of them for like ridiculous prices. I had no idea that anybody was wanting VHS tapes. I have a lot to learn because that's a market that I will admit I don't really know a lot about. Starting with books though, I thought books would be a good place to start. So I've been collecting some vintage books. I have some vintage books already in my online store. Maybe these will get onto eBay. Maybe I can get that going here January or February, we'll see. These two though came from an estate sale, and I paid, you know, maybe 25 cents for each one of them. They were kind of in a whole bundle of stuff. And they're both from the 1960s. The covers are not in great shapes, but they are gardening books. This one is all about lilies. The book itself is not in bad shape at all. And the inside pages of the book are in good shape. And there's all these pretty pictures of different kinds of lilies, all this information about propagating lilies. So I thought that this was a great book for the coming up spring. And this one is just like one of those good old Reader's Digest. It's a full gardening book. Same thing, if you take off the dust jacket, it's in fine shape. So if you are an eBay book person and you've got some wisdom for me, holler out in the comments. Let me know. I was just watching another YouTube video today about eBay books. Recently at the thrift store, I grabbed these two vintage cookbooks, trying to find ones that aren't just kind of anything, but maybe seem unique, or they have some other connection, maybe geographic or to like a famous person. And so that was what caught my eye about this one. This is the Dallas Junior League cookbook. And isn't that cute with those colors there? Now, this one has been a little loved. It's from 1977. It's got some color pages in it. Like, look at that 70s food right there. That's lobster thermidor. This one, some of the pages, like whoever used this book, they cooked out of it a lot, but it's got all those older recipes in it. I grabbed it because specifically that it was Dallas Junior League. I thought that was an interesting subject matter. And then this one, the Dinah Shore cookbook. Okay, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I don't exactly know who Dinah Shore is, but I can remember being a kid and Dinah Shore being talked about all the time. I know I'm gonna hear it in the comments and you're gonna be like, Melanie, how do you not know who that is? I'll go look her up. But I remember her name, but I'm not exactly sure what she was famous for. It's just a hair before my time. This is her cookbook, and the date on this one is 1983. See, I was 3 years old. That's why I don't know what's going on. But she made a cookbook. It's in good condition with the exception of kind of the dust jacket right here. A few other little books that came from an estate sale. These little mini Disney and Looney Tunes books. Now, here's the deal with Disney stuff. Disney stuff sells well, but you have to be really careful where you sell it. I had some Disney, like a Disney glass. Like it was just a tumbler glass that had a Christmas Mickey Mouse on it, listed in my Etsy shop. And my friend was like, be careful, you better take that down. Disney's one of those companies that they're very serious about their trademark. And so if you're selling items of theirs that have any sort of Disney copyrighted characters on them, they don't like that. Now, here's the deal. I didn't make that tumbler, like rip off the Mickey character, print it on my Cricut and stick it on there. I found that, like that was an actual Disney produced item and I found it at a thrift store. So the rules get a little murky when it comes to resale of actual vintage items. Probably better be safe than sorry. So I did sell that glass. I've sold 2 Disney things on Etsy. Again, they both sold really quick, but I probably will avoid putting anything else on Etsy that's Disney. So these will go into my online store or maybe up at my booth. They're a little shabby, but they were basically free. They were in a huge pile of stuff at an estate sale and they just kind of got bundled in with things. But I just thought they were cute. The little worn, of them. So Mickey Mouse, Mystery at Disneyland. And this one is Bugs Bunny's Accidental Adventure. They're kind of dusty. Mickey Mouse Adventure in Outer Space. Right, so let's see if any of these quilts are worth anything. This one looks older, but it's small. It's like a baby quilt. $45. And it's little, but it is very old and the colors on it are pretty. The rest of these I think are all newer. Yep. So you may be wondering, I've talked about my Etsy shop, I've talked about my online store, I've talked about my booth space. I'm currently selling in all 3 of those places. So the stuff that you're seeing here, it's gonna head to one of those 3 places. The things that go in my online store generally make it into my Etsy store about a week later. I prefer to sell from my online store because I pay significantly less fees. And so if you know about Lost and Found and want to shop with Lost and Found, the best place to go is my online store, lostandfoundvintageshop.com. Things are priced less there than I price them on Etsy. Etsy is for basically people that don't know who I am. It's just for people that like to shop on Etsy. Or if I have something that I think is of particularly high value, then I'll put it on Etsy because Etsy gets such a huge audience. I just don't get like that same amount of traffic to my online store. And so I may have something really, really valuable, but nobody will ever find it with me over here. But if I have it on Etsy, maybe they will. So Etsy is kind of like, I put stuff on there and if it sells, great, but I don't promote it. I don't ever link to it. I don't run ads to it. And then of course my booth space is my booth space. Sometimes things go back and forth. Sometimes I have things in my booth for a little while and then I pull them out and put them online and vice versa. I try to keep things online that are easy to ship, that aren't gonna break, and keep the breakable things that are harder to ship, take those up to my booth space. Speaking of one of those breakable things that's harder to ship is this gorgeous Ironstone Flow Blue pitcher. Yes, it does have some hairline cracks and a little staining over here. But I mean, this guy is probably 100 years old, right? I mean, we would all at 100 years old have some cracks and some stains, right? So let's be gentle. Let's treat her nice. Price tag's still on at 10. I paid $10 for it. It's beautiful. Like with the exception of these little spots right here, it's in really nice condition. Here's the mark on it, the English stamp down there. Semi-porcelain, which is another term for ironstone. This is another pretty piece from that same estate sale. And it's not English, it is American. It is a piece of Syracuse china. So just an old little restaurant ware. You know, I don't know if it was a little bread dish. It's not a soap dish, it's bigger than that. But it's kind of that thick, chunky restaurant ware. And then it has just this pretty little bow detail on it. It was just a couple dollars. I thought it was cute for that price. One last little piece of breakable things from that same estate sale. This is a vintage Shenango china. So that's another type of vintage American-made restaurant ware. This is little Shenango china creamer. I liked the red on it. I need to get this out right now because it would be super cute in a Valentine's vignette. All right, those are just kind of fun. Like that's from when I was a kid. McDonald's. Hamburger snack maker. Ooh, the hamburgers were probably not too good. And the frozen fruit snack maker. Yeah, 93, so I was 13. Those are kind of fun. Check out this fantastic seed display right here. I don't think it's for sale, but man, that's a great piece. Beautiful display piece. Especially with like this old seed packet graphics. I don't see a price on it. Okay, I want to show you these, and technically they are not something that I went out and thrifted here. I found them online and I purchased and I had them shipped from the UK. I started thinking about it and I'm like, I don't think I've put those in a video yet. And I thought you guys might enjoy learning about them, might think it's interesting. So I purchased some of these antique ginger beer stoneware bottles. Now these guys are from the late 1800s, I believe pre-1920. That's when they transitioned to using glass. So this was like, you know, people that were making ginger beer in the UK. This was what they would bottle it in and sell it. Now I have one, this one here, they would cork it. And so this one still has some of the original cork in it. And this is one of the oldest ones because it has the design stamped. Can you see? Like they just stamped the maker. So this one is definitely the oldest. It could be in the late 1800s. And then these are a little bit newer where they would print the maker here. I have another one here, this one, and it's plain on the front, but then it has Salutaris up here in London, which, you know, I'm guessing this is the company and this is where they were located. So these have become pretty highly collectible. You know, it was kind of this past summer when I wasn't out doing a lot of picking and I just was kind of hunting around online to see what I could source online. I found these along with some little English stoneware pots and some more glass inkwells, and I had them shipped over. So they make for a very pretty collection if you're into stoneware and primitives. Now I am going to London at the start of March to do some antique, you know, picking with a friend, and we'll see if I can find some more. Vintage art has always been something that I've loved, and it is selling like hotcakes for me right now out of my local booth space. Vintage art, just really can't keep it in stock, and I've put some kind of crazy prices on it because it's getting harder to find, and it's still selling with my higher prices than I would have usually put on there. So I had a bunch of pieces. Unfortunately, they already are up in my booth. I got them all at this one estate sale, and it was like back in a closet. There was just a pile of art. This was one of them, and I love these little silhouette prints. Isn't that fun? And I love the chippy black frame, perfectly worn. And I don't know if that's maybe pen and ink or watercolor accented, you know, with pen and ink, but the background of it is pretty. And the silhouette prints, like they're just very unique. This one does have a little signature down there on the bottom. And then this one is just a gorgeous vintage landscape. It does have some dirt right there. And I thought about taking the back off and cleaning it off. But you know, sometimes these old art pieces where you've got these little nails holding in the back, man, if you take these little nails out, it is real challenging to ever get them back in. And then you're looking at like duct taping on the back, which I didn't want to do. So I decided, you know what, we're just going to leave it on there. And if somebody who buys it wants to work at that and risk taking out these nails and never getting this back in, then they can. This is a beautiful vintage garden scene print. This I grabbed at a local flea market, and it is just a vintage religious picture. Now it is like one of those where I forget, oh look, it's a postcard. See, because the back just came off. Here's what it is. It is actually a 3D postcard. Look at that. Okay, and there's the back of it. So I didn't even know that when I bought it. I'm literally finding this out now as I'm filming. So a 3D postcard, Jesus praying in the garden. Love, love, love vintage religious art. I have been bidding lately in some online auctions, and they're really kind of hit and miss. So a couple weeks ago, I was bidding in one of these auctions, and a friend of mine sells vintage dolls, and she sells Barbies and old little kids' toys. She has a little girl, so she's like really kind of in tune with all of that. With my boys, I'm not paying attention to, you know, that little girl toy stuff that sells. But anyway, I've been trying to learn from her because there is definitely a market there for vintage little girls' toys. One thing she said to me was, if you ever see anything strawberry shortcake, to grab it. So in this online auction, the one thing that I won was this adorable pair of old strawberry shortcake skates. So these are from like when I was a kid, and they're little kid sized. I have not been able to find a size on them. There she is too on the tongue. Look at Strawberry there. Isn't she cute? I loved strawberry shortcake when I was a kid. I think I loved Rainbow Bright more. I was more of a Rainbow Bright girl, simply because they're strawberry shortcake. And I'm gonna put them online and I'm gonna see what happens. I'm gonna see really how collectible this market is. So I bid in another online sale, and this one I was really excited about because it had a bunch of beautiful quilts and some flour sacks, and y'all, everything just got really expensive. And again, you got to avoid the urge to overpay. So I wound up only having the winning bid on one little tiny lot, like under $10. And I was so hoping that I would just get outbid, because I was gonna have to drive about 45 minutes to go pick up this one little tiny lot. And I wound up not getting overbid. It's outbid. So at the end of this big auction, I bid on all this stuff. I bought this one lot for less than $10. And then on Saturday morning, I had to drive up and go get it. It ended up being a fine day, and it was a beautiful drive, and I enjoyed it. And I'm happy with the stuff that I bought, but it just wasn't ideal. Here's what I got in that lot. First, this is a little crumb sweep, right? So put this next to the table. When you're cleaning off the table, they have a little brush, a crumb catcher, I think is the technical name for it. It is monogrammed, has an S on it. And on the back, it is a Reed and Barton. It has that stamp up here. It was an interesting silver plate piece, not one that I've seen often. This in particular was part of the lot. It caught my eye. It is a vintage inkwell, but it's purple. So sold a lot of these old inkwells last year. I actually purchased from the UK and I had shipped over. This one is from here. It says on the bottom, it's Carter's. This one's made in the USA, but it's got that bubbly glass, but I've never seen a purple one. And then also in the lot, they had these two books, but I couldn't really tell exactly what they were. I'm so glad though that I got them, because they are someone's like school autograph books. Mary Beatty, maybe is her name. And they're from the late 1930s. Okay, so it's like, you know, when you're finishing school and you want to go last day of school, like signing your yearbook. Well, instead they would sign these. And so this is sweet little Mary's book. And there's all these little notes written in here to her. Dear Mary, fit as a fiddle, as round as a cup. He went to the bottom, but never came up. Your pal, Helen. Remember me. Dear Mary, life at the most is short. So it behooves all of us to live that all of our days may be happy ones. Therefore, you should invest your life in wholesome things. That's another one that was written here. How incredible is that? So it's just filled with these handwritten pages. What a sweet treasure. And then here is another one. I don't know if this one is, same thing, Mary Beatty, her school day memories. This one might be, I think this one is 1 year older. These were a great find, and it was worth the drive up there just for these two books. So let's wrap it up. While I drove up to that estate sale, I found a flea market to stop at along the way. I found a bunch of great tins there, plus kind of a really unique quilt. Let's start with the quilt. I want to show it to you, and it's gonna be hard to get it all the way in to the shot here. It is State Flowers, okay? And it's a pretty big one, and it's all white. The quilting on it is hand stitched. Now these are not embroidered. They're printed on here. It's not embroidered. So it's not of that kind of craftsmanship level. It does have a little bit of staining in the front, but I think that I can soak it and it's just some yellowing. I think I can soak it in the tub and get that staining out. It's just really soft though and cuddly. And I thought it could be a great quilt because I didn't pay much for it. I can keep the price point of it a little bit lower. And I thought it could be a good entry-level quilt for someone, or a quilt for someone that likes quilts, but maybe they want to keep a more neutral palette, or again, just for kind of the springtime with all the flowers on it. And the rest of the things that I got at that flea market are all vintage tins. Now I've got a whole little area in my booth where I've got some vintage tins. I'm trying to kind of curate those for people that are those kind of shoppers. So let's go through what I found. This is the first one, a Monarch Cocoa tin. This one, of all the ones that I found, has the most value to it. I paid $5 for it. This one might go online just because it is worth a little bit more, but I absolutely love the blue and I really love the lion. And the more I look at it, I'm kind of tempted to keep it for myself. Here was a vintage kitchen tin set. This one, I want to say, was maybe $6 for the pair. They're pretty rough, but I liked the red and the green. I thought that they were cute for kind of that, you know, primary color vintage kitchen. And then when you see the rest of the tins, you'll get it because they all kind of go together. See, they kind of match this, right? So cake tin, this one was $5 or $6. It is missing the top handle right here, but for somebody who's just going to use it for decor, it's not a big deal. Colors on it are great. The graphics on it are great. And they do also match this set of vintage tins. Now these are not as old. I believe they're from kind of the 80s and they were just made to look old, and they're in good shape. So here's this one, and then you've got the smaller pineapple one, and then this one is the yellow peaches, and then this one I believe is the green beans. So all of these tins together, kind of, they're all the same colors, they fit together, they would make a cute vignette together. And even though these aren't super old, like, they're just really cute. And because they're kind of clean and in good condition, I thought somebody would probably be quick to grab them. So all right, you guys, that's it. That's my haul. If you want to shop with me, you can head to lostandfoundvintageshop.com. If you're local, you can head to my booth space at Somewhere in Time. But I'd love to hear in the comments what you saw that you liked, what you thought was maybe a great find. If there was something that surprised you, if you've got any eBay tips for me, let me know. I appreciate you guys being here, and I'll see you back soon.